I was in the worst shape of my life as a vegan. I'm not knocking being a vegan. I think it's better for the planet. But my brain felt terrible as a vegan.
Would you say it has to be more of a personalized approach?
It has to be personalized. These vegan restaurants, it's crap.
These fake burgers that are out there.
They're terrible for you.
This week, we're talking to Danielle Pashko, author, certified health coach, and founder of Hakker.
She uses martial arts practices like Tai Chi and Qigong to help heal chronic illness.
I started working in functional medicine practices. I'm at about 25 years old, worked in some of the best in the city. I'm like a picture of health. And then at 30, I get cancer.
What kind of cancer was it?
This was thyroid cancer. Grounding is very real. When you're feeling that ungrounded and you can start doing those practices while doing the Qigong and the Tai Chi, it helped so much with nervous system regulation. In order to pray, to have your connection with your creator, you need to be in good health. That's your responsibility.
COVID. You experienced long COVID. Is there anything nutrition-wise?
Absolutely.
So what does that look like?
It really dysregulated me in terms of my blood sugar. I thought I was eating super healthy, but
Were you
honestly,
utilizing a continuous glucose monitor?
So I ended up doing that because
our hospital system, the food that the hospitals serve sick patients.
Oh, it's
right?
terrible.
How do we fix that?
Maybe.
Welcome to another episode of A Healthy Point of View podcast. I'm your host, Sam Tejada. And as usual, we're bringing experts from around the world to talk about health, wellness, beauty, and mindset. Today, our guest comes all the way from New York, beautiful city in the Northeast, where there's a lot of sick people up there and they got to get well. So our guest today is a functional nutritionist, but she takes a completely different approach when it comes to actually healing. It's not just about nutrition. It's also about your inner soul. So today we have Danielle Pashko. Hey, Danielle, how are you? All right.
I'm great. Thank you. Happy to be here.
Thank you. Welcome on A Healthy Point of View podcast.
Thank you so much.
You have a wonderful story, healing story of your own that I want the listeners and viewers to kind of understand that what you do as a functional nutritionist, it's not exactly what you started doing when you first got involved as a functional nutritionist.
That's true.
A lot of things have changed from your own experiences.
Yes.
So let's talk about who is Danielle.
Wow. I've been in the health and wellness world since I'm 18 years old, similar to you. And the reason I got into it is because I had a very sick mother growing up. She had breast cancer and the traditional therapies were not working for her. So she started doing visualization, meditation, using homeopathic remedies, macrobiotic diet. And she got me into this whole holistic world.
Right.
And eventually she didn't make it. And the cancer had spread too far. But she left me with these really amazing books. And when I was 13 years old, I was reading Many Lives, Many Masters about reincarnation and the soul and its purpose, and also from Dr. Bernie Siegel, Love, Medicine, and Miracles, and about how our emotional state can affect our healing. And You Can Heal from Louise Hay, which talked about affirmations and positive thinking. And I thought, I don't want anyone to suffer like my mother did, and I want to do something in this field. So I first started studying with a healer who did the shamanic work when I was 18. And then I became a yoga instructor, a polarity therapist, a massage therapist. I got my degree in nutrition. I did all these different healing modalities. And then I started working in functional medicine practices. I'm at about 25 years old, worked in some of the best in the city. I'm like a picture of health. And then at 30, I get cancer. So
what kind of cancer was it?
This was thyroid cancer. My mother had breast, I got thyroid. But I was like a vegan. I worked out twice a day. I did Ashtanga yoga every day. I was so healthy. And I'm like, I don't understand this. So it led me to really further put the connection together between our emotional state, trauma in our lives, and knowing that there's so many things you can do for your health nutritionally or on the outside, but you still have to work on your spirit. Right. So I bring that into my work. And then after I recovered, I wrote a book called Smile at Your Challenges. I thought Like that was it for me. I lost my parents when I was young. I had the cancer. I was like, I kind of, my karma should be kind of complete at a young age. 7 years later, I get Lyme disease, which turned chronic, which turned my life upside down. I recovered. And then after I'm just recovering, COVID comes around. And at that point, I'm feeling really great. But I get a mild case of COVID and I'm thinking like, no big deal. I'm strong. I'm resilient. And it literally just shook up my world so much. I became so sick. And that led me really into working with people that had chronic illness.
Wow.
Yeah.
So to go back on some of the things that you were talking about, when you got diagnosed with the thyroid cancer,
Yeah.
what were some of the symptoms that you started to experience where you found out that you had cancer?
So I mean, I'm already thin to begin with. I'm 5'10" and I went down to 109 pounds for no reason. So that's a little frightening. I was
Oh,
like a
wow.
walking skeleton. Um, I was having a lot of digestive issues, insomnia. Like I used to sleep like a baby and I would go like 2, 3 days without sleeping.
Oh,
And I
really?
felt
Wow.
like I was going manic because I was like, why, I just couldn't understand what was happening to me. And I was going through a divorce at that time. And I
Hmm.
thought, even the doctors were like, oh, maybe, it's just stress. You're going through all this emotional stuff. And I was definitely gaslighted by the medical community.
Right,
They're
right.
like, you're young, you're healthy, you're just stressed.
Mm.
And I was working in a functional medicine practice at the time. And then finally we were checking everything and they thought, oh, maybe it's heavy metals, maybe it's this, maybe mercury, whatever. And since I read lab work and I just said, can we just like look at my thyroid? And I looked for antibodies and I saw that I had some Hashimoto's and later we found out it was thyroid cancer. I kept pushing to
Wow.
find answers and I don't even know how many doctors I went to and got this treatment of it's all in your head. And
Wow.
that's how I really started getting very upset with the medical system, how they treat patients. And I just feel like I wanted to start advocating for people to let them know they're not crazy.
Absolutely. And that's something that can happen very common, and,
Yes,
and then all of a sudden you start feeling like you're crazy because you're being labeled as a crazy person.
totally.
Yeah.
You're looking at this person with authority and yeah, and you start thinking, you know, what's wrong with me? Maybe it's in my head. Maybe I am anxious. Maybe I'm this.
Right.
Maybe I'm that. And no, it was something really wrong. And it's thank God we found it because it spread to my lymph nodes. And I mean, it could have gotten really bad. We caught it just in time. And I had to like go into emergency surgery basically
Of course.
because, we had to just get rid of it.
Now, the Lyme disease, usually Lyme disease happens because you're out in the wilderness and you get bit by a tick,
Yeah.
right?
Well, we were talking about the Hamptons just before. So
Okay.
I was in the Hamptons and I didn't see the tick, but I can recall the weekend when I started feeling terrible.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, just being out there and I went to the beach. I was doing some yoga on the beach with my friend and I remember walking through brush, like there was a bunch of trees to walk to this private beach, walking to the brush, and that can be kind of dangerous. Ticks can get you that way. But
Right.
I never really thought about it because I grew up hanging out in the Hamptons. And there you don't have to get a traditional bullseye rash to or even see the tick
Right.
to get bit by one. So I never saw it. And yeah, so it wasn't diagnosed until a year. I was checking for a million things and didn't think it was Lyme disease.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So one of the things that you're a big proponent of is your soul hacker, where you're
Yeah.
blending science and energy.
Yes.
And when I say energy, I'm not talking about like the energy in a electrical socket. I'm talking about your internal energy, the type of
Yeah.
frequency where you're vibrating at a certain level, right?
Energy, and also for me, a lot of it is qi. When you think of like traditional Chinese medicine and the qi, which is your life force that moves through you, and Indian culture they call it prana. But for
Mm.
me, building up my life force and building up my qi was a huge part of my recovery.
So let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Let's what is chi?
So qi is essentially the life force that moves through you, that moves through all your energy centers and your meridians in your body. If you're talking about traditional Chinese medicine, the meridians in your body are associated with different organs that are connected to different emotions. Like, for example, you're having not a lot of energy flow to your stomach and spleen. And those organs are associated with uh, anxiety worry, stomach, spleen, or if it's
Right.
like the kidneys and energy is not flowing there, it may be fear. So that's how the chi
Is
moves through the
this
body.
related to like the chakras also?
Actually,
Right.
it's all connected.
Okay. Do you use any kind of other energy work, or what is it that you do to
So
actually?
I actually practice a lot of Qigong, which uh, is a type of practice that's internal, where it moves the energy through the body to the different meridians, and I have used that for healing. I found an amazing teacher, Sifu Gary Tong, who has worked with me, and he helped me use Qigong and Tai Chi to really free up a lot of the stagnant energy
Wow.
and regain a lot of the health that I had lost when I was really feeling sick, especially after COVID. I mean, I got like wiped out between vertigo and migraines and fainting spells and blurred vision and just not fun. Like I felt like I had traumatic brain injury. Like I couldn't function like a normal person. And it was so frustrating to me because I worked in one of the best clinics in Manhattan. And I mean, amazing people who practice there, but no one really knew what to do with me. And I knew all the biohacking stuff.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I was injecting myself with peptides, BPC 157, and thymosin alpha 1, and KPV. And I mean, I was going at
Right.
it,
Right.
hitting myself with everything. And I'm like, why is it not
And there
working?
was still something missing. So like when you experience something like the vertigo, like what is it? What process would you put yourself through?
Um, just you mean in terms of healing?
Yeah, to like prevent it from happening.
Oh, so now I do a lot of different things, but originally my balance was so bad I would walk outside, and I'm an ex yoga teacher for 20 years. I taught at Equinox,
You got good
Reebok, Sports
balance.
Club LA, Exhale, like I taught everywhere. I could, stand in a headstand for 20 minutes.
Wow.
And I would walk outside and the street felt uneven and I was
Wow.
like really freaked out. And through doing the Tai Chi and Qigong in nature, so grounding is very real. And if people who don't know the idea of grounding, it's like earthing, it's connecting to the earth, being barefoot, putting your feet in the sand or the grass. And it sounds like, yeah, right. But when you're feeling that ungrounded and you can start doing those practices while doing the Qigong and the Tai Chi, it helped so much with nervous system regulation. And
Wow.
you always hear this term about the nervous system. Now everyone's talking about being in a more parasympathetic state,
Right.
but it's real. And I was doing brain retraining programs like that did not work for me, unfortunately. There's a lot that are out there that are you're supposed to talk to yourself to help you change the neuroplasticity in your brain
Right.
and
Of course.
whatever. And I was like, I did all those programs, I did everything, and it was not working.
Mm.
And this really helped me to start to get regulated. And then when I started to go back to making even more drastic dietary changes, I went drastic with my diet,
Wow.
but I needed to regulate my nervous system before I can do the drastic
All
diet,
that other stuff.
before I can do like the intense detoxes and things like that. Because someone who is weak, whether they're trying to detox from mold or whether they're just they're sick and they're trying to get heavy metals out of their body or whatever, if their nervous system is not regulated, they tend to have poor detoxification pathways.
Mm.
And it's too strong for them. And then they have this Herxheimer response where they can't handle all these invasive therapies. So
Wow.
you need to be rooted first.
Right.
And then the peptides work better, the diet works better, the IVs work better, the hyperbaric oxygen, all these things
Of
you
course.
do work for a regulated person.
So what would be the first step for someone who wants to get, grounded and rooted before actually starting a lot of these different programs to detox and everything else?
I would say try to get out of a big city. If you're, especially in New York, I think it's very overstimulating. Um, and find your way into nature somehow
Mm.
and really start with grounding, spending time outside. It's so important. We are so involved in being on the computer or being inside, or everyone's glued down to looking at their phones, and all this electricity, all the EMF, all this stuff is like dirty frequency for
Yeah.
our
It's too
brains.
much.
It's too much.
Right.
So we really need to get back in nature. And, you know, I always did visualization and meditation, and that's great, but it wasn't enough.
Right.
And I find that even the yoga, as a former yoga instructor, it wasn't working the way that Qigong has worked for me.
Wow.
So I'm not, I don't like when anyone says like this is the answer for everyone, but for me personally
That
and
was the
people that I
answer.
work with, it really helped me to the point that other therapies that I did later had a tremendous positive impact on me
Right.
because I became so regulated.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So we were talking about detox earlier. So
Yeah.
that leads me to the next about the reset versus the traditional detox, which, there's a difference between both of them. So I want the listeners and viewers to kind of understand your process between both.
Right. So I offer two types of programs with people. So the reset is not just a detox. It's really helping people spending a period of time with them, normally 3 months, where I really just get them back into their bodies and help them just work on their health. And whether it's, I kind of work like a concierge. So not only do I help them with their nutrition and then help them with different protocols to work on their nervous system, but taking the guesswork out of finding the right doctor that you need to go to, finding therapies, even similar to like what you're doing, like whether it's IV therapies or whether they need to find a really good acupuncturist or someone who does cranial sacral, or they just, I help them to really navigate, because it's very intimidating when you're not feeling well and
Yeah.
you're just like, what do I do?
And there's so many things out there, especially now that the health and wellness, functional medicine, biohacking space has grown so
Yes.
much. It's like every time you turn your head, there's something new. This is the
Right.
next best thing.
And the thing is a lot of people want to jump into biohacking, but I work with all types of people, but I also work with a very sensitive population that has chronic illness.
Right.
So some of the biohacking therapies that are great for a healthy person and will just make them healthier and more, give them better longevity and, all of that. For my client that's sensitive, I can normally sit with them and say, you're really not ready to do that. Like, let's start slowly first. So
Right.
I curate something for everybody, but it's very individual. So that's the reset. It's just kind of
Okay.
curating a program for them to help them to heal. And then or just maybe not even to heal, maybe just someone who just wants to be really healthy and doesn't even, wants to completely change their life. And then otherwise, if someone, the other programs that I just offer are just really more, it's more like one-off sessions. So maybe not a program, but if someone wants to get their feet wet, like what is it like to see a nutritionist, or what is
Right.
it, what is nervous system regulation? How can you help me to work through this? So I offer that as well. People who are just curious, just
Yeah.
to see what I do.
Why 3 months?
I feel like 3 months is a good period of time to really see an outcome. It's like working with a trainer. You
Yeah.
go for 2 or 3 sessions and you're not going to see that much. But if you can commit to 90 days, I just feel like that's when you really start seeing outcomes. You have to dedicate yourself. And I feel like I also want to see the dedication with someone that I'm working with, because when you work with clients who really aren't, all in and committed, then it's like you don't feel like they're going to get good
Yeah.
outcomes.
I feel you on that, and that's one thing that we always talk about is that anywhere between 90 to 100 days for you to see
Yeah.
those notable
Definitely.
effects of it.
Mhm.
So, when you're working with a lot of your clients, I would only assume that you have a lot of clients that have been to multiple different doctors
Yeah.
that are just consistently feeling unwell.
Yes.
So how do you start off with those patients? Because they must be approaching you in a sense of frustration to begin with.
Totally frustrated. And they're seeing me, but almost kind of like, what can you share with me that I haven't already
Right.
learned from this doctor or this practitioner? I've seen a million people. Someone gave me your number, but so first I want to make sure that they have really good lab work. And that's where the functional nutrition, I've always worked in functional medicine practices. So it's not just like, if someone just gives me lab work, is just showing me, it's CBC, a glucose panel, a lipid
Right.
panel, that is not enough to really give good information.
Right.
So, if we can look at their hormones, look at a viral panel, maybe look at heavy metals, look at mold, make sure they don't have Lyme disease, things like that. I think that gives a lot of clues. And I like to work based on lab work. So it's very rare that I'll take somebody on and
Have actual diagnostic objective data,
you have
right?
to. It's just, I don't, that's why I don't believe that there's like one size fits all diets for anyone. I don't subscribe to any one philosophy. I really
Right.
think it depends on what is going on with
It
your
has to
body.
be personalized to the individual. And that's
Absolutely.
what we call precision medicine, where it's
Yes.
personalized to the individual. So I like that. And that's important. Now, going back to the martial arts topic,
Yeah.
especially for like chronic illness, I think a lot of people that are listening right now are like, if I'm really that sick, how am I going to do martial arts? Well, there's a variety of different type of martial arts out there. We're not
Yes.
talking about going into the octagon and, doing some MMA fighting. So tell us a little bit more of the type of martial arts that we're talking
This
about.
comes up all the time. So this was what happened to me. I was so weak. I was having a nurse come to my house every 3 to 4 weeks doing IVIG. It's immunoglobulin,
Right.
IV immunoglobulin therapy. It's like human plasma basically injected into you because I was so sick and I needed for my immune system. And when I was done with my treatments, I felt like I had meningitis. My migraines were so bad, I felt like I needed to be hospitalized just from the migraines. And I said, I just can't live like this anymore. And I've always been very into visualization. And I was like, okay, I'm going to die if I just continue on this route. This is not me. I'm this
Right.
healthy person. And I started doing very heavy visualization. And in my visualizations, I would watch myself doing martial arts, like serious kung fu. I grew up watching kung fu movies. I had not practiced yet, but I
Bruce
was
Lee.
like, dude, I was so into Bruce Lee. But like all these crazy movies from the 70s and like 80s, like 36 Chambers of Shaolin, like, it's all these Iron and Silk. Like I was into all these movies. And so I would replay the moves that I recalled in my head. And then I would come out of my visualization and I would get depressed because I'm like, you're right. Like, how am I ever going to do martial arts? I go outside and I'm just too dizzy. So I said, well, you know what? Tai Chi is technically Kung Fu, but it's internal. It's slow. It feels like, you think of Tai Chi like a bunch of elderly people in the park. And I was
Yeah.
like youngish and fit, but I was like, well, if this is where I have to start. And it taught me to really learn patience and learn how to appreciate the slowness because
Right.
I've always been so type A. And I found this amazing teacher, and he was so sensitive. He's like a Buddhist. Like he always tells a story when he's teaching. Like he's been teaching for 50 years, and I love him. And he worked with me several days a week. And if you kind of think of like how, Daniel's son, Mr. Miyagi, like how that
Yeah.
was our relationship.
That's pretty cool.
It was very sweet. And he would just start off slow with me and get me to move in ways where I was building up my chi. And I would do these like intestine exercises where I'd be smacking my stomach or breathing in a certain way, and that would help me get rooted and do all these things for my balance. And I would say within 3 months, 90 days, about that time, I was like really feeling a lot better. My vertigo started to lift.
That's pretty cool.
Like I started be like socializing a bit, started, like just doing more things. And then about in 6 months time, I told him like how I was like obsessed with Kung Fu. And he said, I think you can do it. I think you should actually start practicing Wing Chun. And I was like, isn't that like the form that Bruce Lee is known for? And he said, no, you can do it. Just make sure that when you go in, like you're staying more like yin, yin and yang, like be
Right.
soft, use your breath, don't burn out, like, like focus on your breathing. So I found this Kung Fu studio in New York City. It's like 6 flights of stairs, like so intimidated. Like I had just felt like I went through a war with my body. And now I'm like going like up the 6 flights of stairs. I go and I find my teacher, and like they don't know about like all this chronic, illness and all this stuff. And I'm like telling the song and dance, like if I pass out in your class and if this and that, like, and he's just like, whatever.
Giving them the whole list.
Yeah. And this guy's like, whatever, and it turns out that I really took to it. I did not burn out. And I was shocked how much Wing Chun Kung Fu, so many of the drills are so amazing for the brain and really
Wow.
work on neuroplasticity. You do these partner exercises, something called Chi, which means literally means translates to sticking hands. And you work with your partner. You even do Chi sparring, but it takes so much brain capacity, and it is like a brain retraining for me.
What is it that you do specifically?
So you're doing these drills with a partner, like you're taking their hands and you're going back and forth, but you're doing attacks on them. But it's like in a way where it's not like violent, like you're not putting on gloves. Like we do those drills too, where we're actually doing like sparring. But it's like partner exercises, and you anticipate their next move, and then you follow up with an attack. But it's through using breath, and it's actually made. They talk about the nervous system or proprioception. And when I was in a class hearing my teacher talk about this, and like I'm such a geek when it comes to the brain, and I'm like, wait, he's talking about neuroplasticity, proprioception, like, and people sometimes get bored doing this because they just want to go fight, and like, you think of kung fu, like they want to learn how to be in a street fight. For me, I'm like, this is amazing.
Yeah,
Like
you're taking it in a whole
I'm
different
taking
way.
it in. And then even the
Yeah.
forms that you do in the beginning, there's a first form called the Sunam Tao, which uh, all the different forms of like Wing Chun are within this 3.5 minute practice. So,
Oh wow.
but it's like a moving meditation. So you're doing that first form, and the second form is called Chum Kyu. It's like it's beautiful to me. So I see Kung Fu differently than many people see it, because I look at it actually as an amazing
Yeah.
health practice.
My father, he was a black belt kung fu, and he was very into that.
Yeah.
And my sifu, growing up, was also kung fu. So my dad would come and help teach the class
I
as
love
well.
that. And you're lucky enough to have that where you grew up with him, so
Yeah.
you get to practice
His
together.
big thing, he was always a big fan of the praying mantis. That was his biggest
Oh
thing.
yeah.
So let me ask you a few questions about your kung fu.
Yeah.
Your love for kung fu. Do you wear tabby boots?
No,
No.
I don't.
When it comes to Bruce Lee movies from back in
Yeah.
the day, what's like that one scene that you always remember? If someone says like, "Hey, Bruce Lee movie," like what's that scene in your head?
Oh gosh. It's like just there's so many. It's just like the way he moves his neck and his eyes when he's just about to come after somebody. Like I don't know. I go back to I mean, I'm just thinking Enter the Dragon. Like it's been so
Yeah.
long since I've seen
Enter
it.
the Dragon is the one with all the mirrors, right? Where he's going through like all the mirrors,
Yeah,
that mirror room. Yeah, I
So
remember
I
that.
kind of see, I don't know. I just think about like his face when he's getting ready, and the way he tilts his head, and he's just like he's got those intense eyes. I don't know. I don't know the move that I'm like most inspired by, but he's just
There
God,
was
he's
one of the
amazing.
movies, I forgot, it had Chuck Norris in it with Bruce Lee, and I remember Bruce Lee like fighting him and then grabbing his chest hair
Hmm.
and ripped off his chest hair and then just blew it. Do you remember that one? That was for some reason that always sticks in my head because I was a kid. I
Yeah,
found this
yeah.
so weird. I was like, he just ripped his hair chest off of Chuck Norris' chest. But no, I had to ask you that because obviously I grew up watching a lot of kung fu movies. A lot of my dad used to watch a lot of kung fu movies that they weren't in English. So,
Same,
yeah.
same. My dad, I mean, I don't have my father has been estranged since I'm a child, but when he was in my life, that was our thing. We just used to watch kung fu movies, and then they were not in English, and then he would do like the funny like dubbing with the
Oh
mouth. Like
yeah.
he was, very like funny guy. So yeah.
That's funny. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, um, COVID, which I know a lot of people don't like to talk about COVID,
Yeah.
but you experienced long COVID,
Yes.
which long COVID is something that a lot of people are experience a lot of these effects post
Hmm.
COVID, which include everything from mental fog, fatigue,
Yep.
chest pain, shortness of breath, all of that stuff, right?
Yes.
What were some of the signs and symptoms that you experienced when you were going through that?
So everyone has different things going on. I find that COVID is like the long COVID for people who get really sick, and a lot of them will say, but I was healthy before. Like I hiked, I did yoga, I did, I was athletic, and now I have all these problems. Typically, viruses or things that we've had in the past, it works like a laser. It goes into that. It's almost like it goes back into that point of time,
Right.
and it pulls out whatever your weak spot was. So it's different for everybody. And for me, my weak spot was that I had chronic Lyme. I recovered from it, but my Lyme symptoms came back, but like on steroids.
Oh,
So
really?
when I had Lyme, I had some, vertigo. It affected my vision, but like this was like my vision was just completely out. I literally felt like I said earlier, like traumatic brain injury. I mean, it just felt so bad. Vertigo. I was having fainting spells, like just terrible neurological for me is where
Right.
it really, really hit. Whereas, other people, if let's say they've had Epstein-Barr, which is the virus that causes mono, so basically they have mono as a kid and like now they have reactivated Epstein-Barr, or maybe the cytomegalovirus they had, or maybe they had some kind of herpes or shingles or something like that and it's been dormant and now suddenly it comes out again. So I find that people, even like diabetes, like some people were diabetic and, but then they had it controlled and now suddenly they have total glucose dysregulation.
Yeah.
So it seems like it hits people where they were originally weak.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So you as a functional nutritionist,
Yeah,
when you were going through long COVID, is there anything nutrition wise?
absolutely.
So what does that look like?
So it really dysregulated me in terms of my blood sugar. And I always ate a very like pretty low glycemic diet. I lived like I guess like a paleo AIP autoimmune protocol kind of diet. I thought I was eating super healthy. I ate tons of vegetables, fish, maybe a little bit of meat here and there. But
Were you
honestly,
utilizing a continuous glucose monitor?
so I ended up doing that
Okay.
because I was like, I looked fit. I mean, I was ripped, but I felt like crap. I was like, why is my brain so like, what's going on? It has to be related to my glucose.
Right.
So I started wearing a glucose monitor and I started the carnivore diet. And I was like very reluctant, but I have a friend who's a practitioner and he was just like, you got to do it. You got to do it. And I was like, ugh, okay. Like, am I going to eat meat all day? And I didn't have to eat meat all day. I actually, I ate red meat, but I also had fish. I had egg yolks, not the whites, because they can be inflammatory. I had chicken with some fat on it. I had avocado.
Okay.
But doing that, and I cut out a lot of vegetables because a lot of vegetables are high in histamine. And histamine for people who are dealing with long COVID can be problematic. So,
Right.
so not having all those vegetables and having this, the oxalates, the histamine, the lectins, it was unbelievable how my glucose readings were when I was wearing the monitor, how much better I felt. And I use that a lot with people dealing with long COVID who were having neurological symptoms. And it makes sense because even like a ketogenic diet with someone who has traumatic brain injury tends to fare really well with that.
Right.
So now I don't stick with that entirely, but I still tend to feel really well with a high fat kind of, I would say not carnivore, but like I would say keto-ish
Like a
type
little
of diet.
keto.
It feels really
yeah.
good for my brain.
That's pretty
and
cool.
my symptoms. Yes.
Nice. So Danielle, right now, there's a huge movement that's going on. It's called the MAHA movement.
Oh yeah, of course.
Make America
yeah.
Healthy Again. So what do you think about this movement? And what do you think
it's
about
great.
RFK Jr.?
I think it's really great. And I hope that enough will happen and things will be passed while, RFK is in this position to do that. I think banning food dyes and things like that's really important. I know he's addressing the chronic illness epidemic. He talks about vaccines. I think there's a lot of good that I hope will come out of this, and he's bringing awareness to it.
Absolutely.
So I'm totally on board.
So one of the things that I'm concerned about is being able to hit certain cultural groups through the MAHA movement.
Yes.
Which I'm very supportive. I partake in a lot of their events and work with a lot of their leaders. But growing up in the inner city, everything. Unfortunately, it's not. It should be nonpartisan, but it's been so politicized
Totally.
in a way.
I know.
Where
Yeah.
it's just like now you have a certain group of people that look at it. It's like, oh, this is under Trump. This is no good.
It's a
So,
huge problem.
what would you say would be something important for us to be able to bring this to other cultures?
I mean, I think having ambassadors within that culture that can go out and really educate, so whether it's going into a Hispanic neighborhood, having someone who can be an ambassador who can speak their language, even
Absolutely.
even for myself, like I'm Jewish, like I was a nutritionist for a Jewish day school for a very big synagogue in New York City, and unfortunately, a lot of the Orthodox Jewish population very intelligent when it comes to business and things like that, but their diets are just not great. So like if I had to speak in those circles, I'd have to bring in something that would be identifiable to them to make them want to shift. So
Right.
it's finding like a common ground with people that you're speaking to. But yes, it's totally partisan. It's like, that people say so many things about RFK who hate Trump. And it's like, if you can just like see the good in what's
Right.
happening, like come on, it's like there's it's such a mess of this the crisis like everyone's dealing with their health and young people. It's like we've never seen these rates of cancers and these like autoimmune diseases, and it's just terrible. So
Yeah.
it's like take your hate away and just really try to work on the positive aspects of it, and just trying to fix humanity.
Yeah. It's almost like it's a whole another level of toxic behavior
Totally.
when we should really be detoxing that behavior, right?
Absolutely.
Um, so you mentioned about the Jewish community and bringing a lot of the holistic
Yeah.
health
Hmm.
into these different communities. How is that? How is that process? Is that a difficult process to do
Yeah, I
that?
mean it has been in a way, but if it's kind of like speaking so for example, if I'm and this is how people can kind of ease into their communities, but like when I would speak to people religious, I would bring in Maimonides was a doctor, a philosopher, a rabbi, if you hear Maimonides Hospital,
Okay.
but a lot of the wisdom that he spoke about thousands of years ago, now still holds true. And he always would talk about that in order to pray, in order to have your connection with your creator, you need to be in good health. That's your responsibility.
Mm,
So bringing that to people, maybe they don't understand like eat organic because what there's, toxins and chemicals and, glyphosate, that might not reach them. But if you talk about prayer, maybe that'll connect with them because they're like, oh, it came from Maimonides. So that
right.
can translate in any circle, Christian communities, Muslim communities, when you're bringing it in from a place of spirituality and your body and honoring it, I
Yeah.
think that can maybe hit home.
Yeah, I'll tell you in the Christianity
Hmm.
part, I mean, in the Bible, it says the body is the temple of God, right?
Absolutely.
And you have to take care of it. If not,
Yeah.
it is a sin. And it's interesting enough, it's the one sin that you're not doing outside of your body, you know?
Right.
So to me, it's just like if
Mhm.
you're not taking care of your body, this is a really bad thing, you know?
Definitely. And it's, I find a problem with our culture today is there's so much uh pardon me saying this, but with the woke movement about the body image and about like you can't say anything, like it's okay to be super overweight or super,
Yeah.
and it's not healthy. It's not about there should be no body shaming. You should be confident in your body and be healthy. But I mean, but you should be confident in your body, but you also need to be healthy.
Right.
And I think it's like not about being skinny or it's not as about aesthetics necessarily. It's just about like we need to live well to be able to perform well, to have a healthy brain, to
Right.
be there for our families.
Lead by
Like
example, all of that
yeah,
stuff,
all of
right?
that. And
Yeah.
I think there has to be more focus on that.
So how do you fight a lot of this misinformation when it comes to chronic illness?
It's very hard, and a lot of allopathic doctors would definitely try to take me down, with what I have to say, and I have to just know who I'm dealing with, and I guess people who come to me have been so disappointed with the medical community. I'm not saying all doctors are bad. There's some amazing doctors out there, but the
Right.
but the ones that they've experienced that have put them all these medications that made them worse or labeled them crazy or have gone through this.
Right.
Then at that point, they're open to talk to me and have a conversation about maybe something a little bit different that might work. So I haven't done it on a big scale because I'll tell you with social media and all of that, they're very quick to take down
Oh
accounts.
yeah.
So I'm very, like reasonable about the way I communicate. But I definitely have my opinions. And if you work with me, I think of definitely share more.
Amazing. Amazing. Danielle, if there was one policy that you can change when it comes to national wellness, what is that policy that you would make a change with?
I think the schools and one the I was a nutritionist for a day school,
Okay.
and I really worked hard and worked with the kitchen and the chefs and the board of education to be able to get healthy food within the schools. And the kids used to call me like the broccoli pusher because I used to have to stand online with the teachers and make sure like the kids were getting the
The
vegetables and everything was
veggies.
healthy. But like I think that is so important to start them at a young age to really get into uh, good habits so they can continue that within their life. So I just wish the schools would really
Absolutely.
participate in better health programs.
I
And
love
and I
that.
know it's expensive, but I don't know. There was a way to do it.
Yeah. I mean, that's part of what they're working on right now,
Yeah.
part of the MAHA movement as well
Yeah.
too. Del Bigtree is really big on that. He
Yeah.
actually believes that if you start with the kids will actually potentially teach some of these things to the parents
Yeah,
that are not living
absolutely.
that healthy.
There's that
Um,
and also the mind body practices. Kids, I mean, I've taught yoga to children and I've seen how they do respond to it, and I think it's so good for their racing minds and to get them to just disconnect and just be present for a few minutes.
yeah,
So practices like yoga, Qigong, like things like that. Like I think this world and this newer generation, I think they're starting to become open to that. And these kids don't think it's that weird. And I
yeah,
wish it was taught in the schools more regularly,
it
like,
should.
have gym class, but also have time to incorporate these type of
I
practices and
agree.
make it normal.
Yeah, that would be amazing. That
Yeah.
really would be amazing. So, as a functional nutritionist, there's something that I've personally have always had a problem with
Mm.
our hospital system.
Yeah.
The food that the hospitals serve sick patients,
Oh, it's
right?
terrible.
Or patients that just went through a triple bypass or, you know, and all of a sudden they're in the recovery room and you've seen what they serve
Oh,
people.
absolutely.
How do we fix that?
That is a huge issue. I don't know. Maybe RFK has some ideas because I always say the same thing. I really don't know. And like I don't know who's in charge and why that's acceptable in these big institutions, these massive
Yeah.
hospitals. It's
It's like
ridiculous.
they're literally giving them the food, the
that
food that actually
that
got
put
them
them
there,
there.
right?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and then you start looking at some of these cereal boxes that they give there in the recovery room. You get a box of Fruit Loops, and it has a big logo of the American Heart Association saying that it's approved by the American Heart
It's
Association.
unbelievable. I don't understand it at all.
Yeah,
I wish I knew how to get through, but I agree with you. That's a huge problem.
yeah, yeah. Danielle, as we're talking about a lot of these things and some of your experiences, if there's someone listening to the podcast and they resonate with today's message,
Yeah.
what is that one thing that you can leave them off with?
Not lose hope. And I know that sounds like, oh yeah, sure. I'm really going through something, but there are there are ways out, and not every stone has been left unturned. And for me, I did 100 things before I got to where I am now. So you need to not lose hope, but also, keep searching. Don't think you're crazy, and really keep searching until you find your answer.
Absolutely.
And that's what I did, and that's what I really push people to do.
I love that. Love that. Danielle, we were talking just a few days ago, and you were talking about how there's a lot of people that are living this healthy life,
Yeah.
but they're really not living a healthy life because they don't understand how much of what to eat, what they should eat. And
Oh,
Brian Clements
yeah.
was on the podcast, director of Hippocrates, and he brought it up. He says it's like there's a lot of little fat vegans all over the place, where you get people that are just like, oh, I'm healthy, I'm a vegan, but they actually end up gaining a lot of fat because they're eating too much carbs or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
So I know that's something that you've addressed
I know. I wrote a book
previous,
about it.
right? But I think
Yeah.
that is a topic that has to be talked about because it's not just about eating the healthy organic foods. You could eat a lot of healthy organic food and you'll eat too much of it, or maybe foods that really don't fit your body type or your genetic type that will actually become unhealthy for you.
Definitely. I mean, overeating anything excess really is like poison to us. We can
Yeah,
drink too much water and you can die from that,
100%.
you
Right.
know? And I think that people believe that if they have something that's kind of healthy, they have license to just have whatever they want. And I
Right.
think that's really, where it's a problem. And I was in the worst shape of my life as a vegan. I'm not knocking being a vegan. I think it's better for the planet. I think it's, more as in terms of like ethically, I understand. I think it makes sense. I love animals. But my brain felt terrible as a vegan. I was eating so many carbs, eat all those green juices with apple and all those
Yeah.
sugar in it. I felt like my blood sugar spiked so much. Like I felt like crap for 10 years when I was a vegan.
Wow.
And I was 25 pounds heavier. And I didn't know I had muscles underneath like the all the skin I had because I was just bulking up because I was always hungry because I wasn't having, good quality proteins.
Right.
And so I would like eat these bowls called planet platters. It was like rice and beans and seaweed and this and that and tofu. And I'm like, oh, it's healthy, but like it was just huge.
Yeah.
And then it was just all carbs and it was not good. So it's not for everyone. And if people are like their goal is to like really get fit, I don't necessarily recommend it. Then again,
Yeah.
everyone's metabolism is different, and some people do okay as a vegan. So I'm sure someone's going to say she's wrong. But for the majority of people that I know, especially that have come to me with weight loss issues and they are a vegan, we can turn that around.
Would you say it has to be more of a personalized approach?
It has to be personalized. Some people it's doing vegan in the right way too.
Right.
If you're doing vegan and you're having a lot of vegetables and you're, not overdoing it with like the fake proteins, like if you're having things that are like tofu, tempeh, fine, but you start having like TVP, texturized vegetable protein, which is gluten, or the a lot of these like vegan, like these vegan restaurants, it's crap. Like I used to
Oh
do
wow.
menus for
What is it? Like these fake burgers that are out there.
oh
The
yeah, they're terrible for you. And they also have like excitotoxins that
yeah,
can end up messing with the brain. They can cause too much glutamate, so you can have your brain is too excitatory.
yeah,
Like
the
it's
Impossible Burger
the
was it?
Impossible
You
Burger,
know,
Beyond Meat.
I bought that once when it first came out. I was like, let me see what, because people were like, oh, it's just like a real burger. This that. I bought it and I cooked it. I didn't cook it in the grill. I cooked it inside my house. My house had this really bad smell from it. It lasted almost like a whole week.
Really?
Yeah, it was bad. And I told myself, says, just because my house smells like this for like a whole week, this should not go in my body.
Yeah.
Regardless of what's in it. But whatever lab meat this is that we're messing around here, I'll just think if I'm gonna go vegan, I'm just gonna eat vegetables at
Well,
that
that's the
point. You
thing.
know,
Most people who go vegan, they're eating like a vegan pizza or you know what I mean? They're doing it just
yeah,
because it's vegan. And then afterwards, they have their gluten-free cookie from the health food store.
right,
And they're like, oh, that's healthy with their oat milk that's like super glycemic
yeah,
and like full of like crap. And
right.
it's all done wrong. And then they're like, I don't understand like why my brain doesn't feel so good and why I'm tired and why I'm gaining weight and I'm bloated. And I'm just like, because your
Yeah.
diet, it's not, it's you might have bought everything at the health food store, but it's like
But it's still like ultra processed.
it's ultra
Yeah, yeah,
processed. Absolutely.
yeah,
Like eat real food.
yeah.
Like that's my motto with everything. Like I cook everything. I mean, I spend a lot of time, going to farmers markets. Like I can whip up anything quickly. It's like, okay, like let me, I make some squash or a bok choy found at the farmers market, and then I'll just, buy a piece of like wild salmon and
Right.
boom, that's dinner. Like I make it on the spot. I don't have like I don't use a lot of season. If it's really fresh food, you don't need a ton of sauces and
Right.
dressings, and I don't use any of that stuff. I
Yeah.
eat clean, good, natural food.
That's the way it should be.
Yeah.
Danielle, what is the next big thing for Danielle?
Well, Soul Hacker is fairly new, and I really want to focus on just growing that more and getting people to realize that they need to work on their health and see their body as a whole. You know, it sounds cliche, but mind, body, spirit. And that's really the message I want to give to people, and really bring that out more, that it's not just about what you eat or what this external thing you do. You can't forget about the soul. And I think I just want to be sharing that more and more, and get people to look at themselves more holistically, and I guess on a bigger scale. And yeah, that's what I'm working on. I just really want to spread the word.
Amazing. And we're going to do that. We'll do that together. You know, it's all about collaborating together
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
making it happen. Danielle, if people want to find you, where do they find you?
They can go to my website, which is soulhakker.com, soulhakker.com, or Instagram. I'm always posting the Soul Hacker with a THE.
Amazing. And we'll include all those links down below.
Great.
So, Danielle, well, it was a pleasure having you here on the podcast.
It was
This
great
was great
meeting with you in person. Yes.
Amazing.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. All right. So, guys, you guys heard it. Danielle said it very clear. It is more than just nutrition. This is something that you have to work from the inside out. You have to tap into your soul. You have to have the right energy, the right frequencies before you even start any of these crazy detox programs and all this biohacking, because it can become a very difficult process if you don't. Your body might just not handle it properly. So, this is a personalized approach. This is something that you want to find out your own personal health data before you even start doing some of these things. Because sometimes you might not even need it, right? We don't want to just supplement to supplement. We want to supplement based off of the raw material that your body actually needs. Guys, make sure you guys follow, share, subscribe. Make sure you bring this to your families and friends. Make sure you follow Danielle's page. And again, thank you for watching, and we'll see you for the next one.